Hello everyone, my name is Jan Joost.
My name is Nadia.
And we are resident photographers here at Nguma.
And today we're going to give you some advice and insights of the work we are doing for Nguma.
Hope you enjoy that.
So advice for beginning photographers or people who wants to spend time with animals, read about animals. I think we learned also a lot because we did a lot of game drives with guides, and I love to hear about all the stories about animals. And well, actually Frans is behind the camera. Frans, join us. Come.
Hello. How you doing?
Great.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hello, my name is Frans. I'm one of the team members here at Nguma, one of the guides actually here. We always share sightings and stories about animals, and well, they are always up early, going out, and then in the afternoons we always meet and tell each other, sharing where we have spotted what animals. So it's great actually working with them. They also make our lives easier here because as they're going out earlier, they tell us about the sightings that they see before. So it's a great help actually to work with them. Yeah. Thank you.
Some advice for when you're driving around a national reserve, just like Etosha, not a private game reserve, it would be try to stop every guide which you come up to. And just ask the guides what's happening around, because guides most of the time are communicating with each other. If you see them rushing to something, just don't stop them, but go drive after them and follow them. And sometimes you will end up at a great sighting. Sometimes you will end up at the gate because they need to drop off the guests. Well, that's not great, but most of the time you will run into a sighting which is special, because these guys only tend to rush to a sighting when it's special. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just ask them what's happening, because they know what's happening, and they know always great spots to see leopard, for example, or where rhinos show up, or where the lions might be. So if you're new to a place, for example Etosha, just start with asking the guides. Yeah, and there's so many more besides the plains game and the cats you have around here. We had a snake the other day, a boomslang, and we can really enjoy that as well. You don't go look for them, because then you will have a hard time finding them. But yeah, we were lucky again that one of the guides found them and he called us in. So we went there and had a look, and that's really enjoyable as well. A little bit tougher to take a good photo, but still very special to witness a boomslang so close by.
But also the birds. I really like birds. And I think I discovered that when spending for days in the Onkolo hide, because there's not always a cheetah or a lion or an elephant, but the birds are always there, and they are very quick, so it's like a sport to catch them on camera.
Even after it gets dark and it's really hard to photograph animals, there's plenty of opportunities here at Nguma. I like, for example, photographing Milky Way. So when I come to Namibia, I will definitely bring along a wide-angle lens. Namibia is actually one of the best places in the world to photograph stars of the Milky Way. There's almost no light pollution, or actually there is no light pollution. So at certain times in the month, when the moon is on the opposite side of the Milky Way, you get an opportunity to make great photographs, because the moon will lighten up your foreground and you have the Milky Way in the background. Well, that's something, well, as a European living in a place where there's so much light pollution, that's something which amazes me every time again when we get here. So yeah, keep that in mind once you're here, and it's not a good time to photograph animals. Look up in the sky and be amazed by what's up there. I think that is really helpful is apps on your phone called Planet Pro or Photo Pills, and they just help you decide when is the right day during your stay to photograph the Milky Way. So yeah, definitely use them to decide when you're going to shoot the Milky Way. So besides obviously the fancy gear we bring along, the long lenses, there are some other things which will make your life easier as a photographer. And one of these things is a beanbag. First thing we buy when we land in Namibia is we go to a store and buy like 20 kilograms of rice just to fill up these beanbags, because once you're in that car you won't be able to use a tripod anymore, and you want to be stable on a good sighting. So this helps. Just put it onto the door like this, and then you have a steady platform where you can put the camera on. They are not that expensive, but they will make your life a lot easier.
Another thing we bring along is this little puffy thing, because here in Namibia there's a lot of dust and it will get all over your camera gear, and this is a nice way to get it off.
So another thing to bring along is definitely a binocular, because if you're gonna look through the lens all the time, when you think you see something, that's gonna be heavy and way too bulky and taking time as well. So take a binocular, they are light, you just grab them and have a quick look if there's a lion or just a sleepy rock in the grass. Most of the time it's a sleepy rock, so yeah, you want to spend as less time as possible looking what is not there.
Yeah. And you want to be quick, so you grab it. And one of the benefits is that we have our own car here at Nguma, and we can decide ourselves what time we want to go out. So if you want to go already out in the dark an hour before the sun rises, then that's possible, and that's not possible at, for example, the Etosha, because the park opens when the sun rises.
Yeah, what I would definitely recommend for starting photographers is go out early before sunrise. So sometimes it's even more easier to find lions in the dark than it is during the day. Other advice I would give is, since the light is changing so quickly in the morning, and well, I do not have the time for that because I'm driving around, but if you're going with a guide, then you have the time to just check your settings now and then when there's nothing happening. So when something shows up, because that can happen instantly, driving around the corner and there's a leopard, then you want to have the settings right for that moment. Otherwise you may end up with overexposed or underexposed photos from a great sighting, and that's something you don't want. It happened to me before. Yeah, not a good feeling. Yeah, and other recommendation is absolutely patience. That's the main thing you need in photography or wildlife photography, because getting to know the settings of the camera isn't that hard, but it's the patience that's gonna deliver a good photo or a great photo. Because these special photos, most of the time it's just a 1 second moment, and you want to capture that 1 second happening in maybe 2 hours spanning a line. So
yeah, maybe a different type of patience is focus on one animal. If you have like a herd of impalas, I think you want to photograph them all, and you're turning around with your camera and want to snap all these moments. But sometimes I just focus on one impala and follow it and look how it turns, how it eats grass, and
how it behaves. Yeah. Well, when we are at a sighting and I can tell for myself, well, this is not gonna result in a great photo, then my patience is little. But my patience is really good when I go to a waterhole in the afternoon and just wait for something to show up, because then I can be quiet for like hours, and you can do that as well, hoping that a rhino or a leopard will show up. So then we both have more than enough patience, and that's actually what I love as well. I enjoy it, just being in nature, even when we see nothing, but that feeling that something can happen. Yeah, that's giving me the motivation to get up at 6 o'clock every morning.
I think you can see a lot more when just standing somewhere at a waterhole than just driving around crazy and hoping to see some animals.